Imagine a society where every single aspect of life, your food, the laws, even how they fight wars, isn't just about function, but this relentless, meticulous pursuit of beauty, of perfection, a place where excellence is obligation. Not just a nice idea, but a core rule. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're really immersing ourselves in the world of Doriconia. Our mission is to unpack what it truly means for a culture to live by this principle of endless perfection. We've got some fascinating details to explore, from its, landscape to its very unique currency. Doriconia gives us this incredible look at how one single philosophy can shape, well, everything. Okay, let's get into it. So, Doriconia, it's in the southwest, right? About 8 million people, 6,500-ish square miles, and strongly linked with the color red. But the geography is just the start. The real defining traits are this identity, endless perfection, and the philosophy. Excellence is obligation. What's so fascinating is how this isn't just some slogan on a banner, it's like deeply woven into them. How does that actually show up day to day? Can you give an example, like a small detail?
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete societal framework. This idea, excellence is obligation, it really permeates every single layer.
Hmm?
Individual life, collective life, everything. Take their language, for instance. Even their slang judges quality.
Yeah.
If someone, say, overdoes something, makes it gaudy, they might call it gilding the gull.
Gilding the gull.
Yeah, like you're trying too hard, maybe wasting effort past perfection into something. Less. It shows how constantly they're evaluating everything against this standard. It really makes you wonder, what does a society actually feel like when perfection isn't just a goal, but a duty you have every single day?
That's a heavy thought. The pressure must be immense. Let's try and picture their world, the physical place. It's described as this narrow coastal plain, right? Sea cliffs, rugged mountains behind them, hidden coves, terraced vineyards. It sounds almost impossibly beautiful, like a painting.
It really is. And the climate helps. Mild Mediterranean, dry, sunny, some winter rain right on the coast, perfect for grapes. And those cliffs, they protect the coast, the hills, inland trap warm air. It's like nature itself is cooperating with this idea of, deliberate beauty. And you see this reflected, maybe even amplified, in their architecture. These terraced villas, hilltop places with the red tile roofs, sunken courtyards, coastal towns with those narrow winding alleys, plants hanging everywhere, grand aqueducts, bell towers. They even carve wine cellars right into the cliffs.
It mentions inspirations like Cinque Terre, Amalfi Coast, southern France, Greco-Roman ruins, but they took those and dialed it up. Does that ever get rigid, like as every single building a perfect monument, or is there any room for, change or practicality?
That's a great question. They see their cities more like living sculptures, constantly being refined. They'd argue true perfection isn't static. It evolves through continuous disciplined effort. It's not about being frozen. And this commitment, it goes beyond buildings. It extends to their whole ecosystem, which is fascinating. They have unique plants. Ember grapes for their famous wine, cliff wreaths grown on these terraces, flame vine, this really vibrant, fast-growing creeper, adds to the look.
And the animals, don't tell me even the animals are perfect.
Well, they certainly fit the picture. They have these vine cats, small wild cats in the vineyards, considered good luck, and gull foxes, clever little cliff dwellers. Even pests like barrel wasps that nest in wine barrels are managed. They use citrus oil to deter them.
Okay, so it's not just control, it's harmony, everything tended to.
Exactly. It reflects this belief that even nature is part of the perfection they're obligated to maintain or guide towards.
That level of detail is just, oh, wow. Okay, so if they're that meticulous about wasps, I can only imagine the food. How does endless perfection taste?
Huh. It tastes like art, essentially. Dishes like embergrape roasted lamb, sea cliff gnocchi, sun-baked flatbreads, fire fruit gelato. They grow everything with incredible care. Ember grapes, citrus, cliff rice, sun herbs, figs, olives. The flavors are described as rich, herbaceous, refined, huge emphasis on balance. And presentation, of course. It's more than just eating. It's like a daily performance of their identity. Every ingredient pushed to its absolute peak.
Okay, from the plate to the person, their clothing, their style, sounds just as deliberate. Everyday stuff is like flowing linen tunics, draped shawls, sandals, earth tones, but with accents of deep red, gold, ocean blue. Very graceful. Even practical gear like wide-brimmed hats for vineyard work or capes for the sea breeze, they're described as elegant.
And then for ceremonies, they really elevate it. Formal togas, robes with gold thread embroidery, jewelry made from coral, lapis, even wine glass enamel.
Wine glass enamel, seriously.
Seriously, and family insignias are everywhere embroidered, worn as brooches. It's not just fashion. It's a visual statement about lineage, craft, status. It connects right back to their social structure.
And this carries over into sound, too. Their music is described as classical quartets, choirs, ballads, using lyre harps, ceramic flutes, crystal string lutes.
Even water drums and wave-tuned shell instruments for coastal things, the themes are what you'd expect. Legacy, beauty, devotion, tragedy, and perfectionism, naturally. It's total immersion.
It seems like this theme just runs through absolutely everything.
It does. Even their language, beyond the slang we mentioned, their actual mottos were like commandments. Excellence is obligation. The stone remembers the sculptor. Perfection is not pride, it is duty.
And other slang, too, like calling something elite vintaged or saying someone's in the shadow of the bell tower if they're under scrutiny. It just shows how this core idea isn't just taught, it's, lived, breathed, spoken every day.
Okay, so aesthetics, tradition, it's all there on the surface. Clothes, music, language. But how does this drive for excellence actually shape their society? The social structure, how people interact? Well, it leads to a society that's very steeply stratified. But interestingly, not just based on who your parents were. Status comes from your craft, your legacy, and how well you publicly display refinement. You have the gilded lineages, old famous families, but also the artisan courts, a respected middle class of makers. Then there's the watchful hand, they oversee public standards, and the coastal common fisherfolk, vineyard workers, they're seen, tellingly, as unfinished sculptures.
Unfinished sculptures, wow. But you said it's not just birthright, so people can move up.
Yes, that's key. Social mobility is possible. Through exceptional merit in your craft, through public showcases, or maybe finding a powerful mentor. So there's this tension, between inherited status and earned excellence.
That makes sense. And family sounds huge. A living legacy. People live in multi-generational villas. Elders have the power. Kids are apprentices in the family craft. And names have a heritage marker. Strategic marriages are common, even if love is allowed. Sounds like the individual takes a back seat sometimes.
Often, yes. The family legacy, the collective pursuit of perfection, tends to come first. Their customs are highly ritualized, too. Things like the daily toast at sunset, the hand of offering, a formal gesture between rivals, the first fruit rule, where the first bit of harvest is shared. But what's really different is how they handle failure. They don't really have prisons in the way we think of them. Instead, they have public shaming ceremonies. These involve curtains of critique.
Curtains of critique? What on earth is that?
It's where you have to stand before a council and eloquently explain your mistake, your failure. Often, it's followed by a really demanding redemption challenge. And kids, they're raised under intense pressure, taught to sing before they speak, meaning master your craft young and never let the silence show weakness.
Wow, that's intense. What happens to kids who just aren't naturally artistic or driven that way? Is there a societal cost to this, like mental health?
Yeah.
And no prisons. What about serious crimes? Is explaining yourself eloquently really enough if you, say, hurt someone badly?
Well, for serious acts, the redemption challenge would be incredibly severe. So arduous in public, it essentially amounts to societal exile. Losing your standing, your legacy. That's often seen as worse than physical confinement for a Doritonian. The public atonement, the struggle to regain honor, that's meant to be the deterrent, forcing confrontation with the failure and the drive to return to excellence. As for kids who don't fit the mold, it's certainly a pressure cooker, but the concept of finding one's form allows for different paths, as long as some form of excellence is pursued. Maybe not sculpture, but perhaps strategy or agriculture.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense, though still intense. So how do they govern themselves, this society obsessed with perfection and public image?
They're led by a council of elegance. It's a body of 13 seats, and it's this interesting mix of semi-democratic and semi-hereditary. Members are elected from laureates, recognized masters in fields like sculpture or law or strategy. It tries to balance that lineage wisdom with proven current merit.
Semi-democratic, semi-hereditary. How do they keep the hereditary part from getting stagnant? What if an heir just isn't, well, elegant or competent?
That's where the elegant and laureate part is crucial. Lineage might give you a shot, get you considered. But your actual election, or staying in office, hinges on demonstrating excellence, upholding standards, contributing to the ideals. A hereditary member who fails wouldn't be reelected, or could even face a curtain of critique leading to removal. Lineage isn't a blank check. Then there's the arch-composer, ceremonial head of state, elected every 10 years. They're the voice of the people in rituals. No real legislative power, but huge influence on the culture, the tone, the legacy.
And disputes get settled in the Hall of Judgment, where it's not just about truth, but how beautifully you argue it. Justice as an art form, but doesn't that mean the best talker wins, not necessarily the person who's right? How do they stop people just manipulating the system with pretty words?
That's the tightrope they walk. They believe truth presented badly is truth lost. So the craft of presenting it clearly, compellingly, aesthetically, that's vital. There are safeguards. These investigators, the bell keepers, they dig for facts behind the scenes. Very secretive. But the trial itself, it's a performance. Evidence needs grace, logic, flow. A clumsy truth might lose to a polished lie, theoretically. But the bell keepers are meant to stop that lie getting that far.
And they have political factions too, traditionalists, reformers, traitors. But they sway opinion with pageants and contests, not debates. What does a political pageant even look like? Is it real ideas or just who puts on the best show? Form over substance.
It's meant to be both. A faction might unveil a new city plan via a choreographed architectural model display, or propose a law through a dramatic play. The substance has to be there, but it must be wrapped in compelling art. The belief is that truly elegant ideas naturally manifest through elegant presentation. If the presentation is clumsy, maybe the idea itself is flawed. Their law enforcement, the Crimson Mantle, they focus mostly on public decorum, keeping things looking right. Crimson cloaks, gold masks, very visible. And then you have the bell keepers, those investigators, operating in pairs, super secretive. They only ring these silent bells after a case is closed. Their motto says it all. Truth is best when sculpted slowly.
Truth is best when sculpted slowly. That really captures it. Does that mean justice can be really slow? What if something needs a quick resolution?
Oh, it absolutely means thoroughness over speed. Quick justice to them would be sloppy, imperfect, an affront. If immediate action is needed, the Crimson Mantle steps in to maintain order. But the bell keepers, the Hall of Judgment, they take the time needed to get that elegant, irrefutable outcome. No rushing the sculpture.
Okay, so this complex web of art, tradition, merit, what actually fuels their economy?
It's this mix of high-end artisanal exports, luxury farming like the wine, and basically selling their cultural prestige. Everything made has to meet those aesthetic standards. Key exports, their Doriconian fire wine from ember grapes, obviously, high art, sculpture, marble statues, fancy instruments, luxury fabrics like coral weave or lapis-threaded silk. They even export architectural consulting and, of course, tourism. People pay to come and experience this perfected world.
That makes sense. But the currency, I read about this, the petal and these masterpiece coins. Tell me about those.
Right, so the everyday currency is the petal. Polished coin, vine-wrapped amphora stamp. Pretty standard. But then for high values, they mint masterpieces. These are small medallions, actual works of art, maybe showing a famous building or sculpture, and their value isn't fixed. It increases over time based on rarity, maybe seasonal demand, like a collectible artwork.
Wait, so you could have money that's literally a tiny sculpture, and its value changes based on how appreciated the art is.
Exactly. It's basically art-backed currency. Wealth isn't just about how much you have, it's about how beautifully curated and presented it is. Displaying taste is displaying wealth.
That's wild. Who decides the artistic value then? Does this create like an art critic elite controlling the economy? What if a masterpiece just goes out of style?
The value is typically set or influenced by the Council of Elegance, or perhaps the Guild of Masquerites. They're the big cultural arbiters. Their judgment carries immense weight. If a masterpiece lost value, it would be a huge deal, a sign of shifting tastes, maybe societal change. And yes, it definitely means expertise in aesthetics translates directly to economic clout. The whole economy is underpinned by these powerful guilds of craft. The Wine Press Order, the Sculptor's Choir, the Choral Loom House, the Masquerites Guild. They control standards, training, patronage, ensuring excellence everywhere.
It feels like there's this deep spiritual layer to all of this too, is there?
Definitely. Their spirituality weaves together ancestor veneration, this discipline of aesthetics and personified ideals. They don't really have distant gods. They revere archetypes. Orelon, the shaper eternal god of form, creation. Bolaria, the blooming flame goddess of performance, fleeting beauty. Virith, the mere undone spirit of truth, self-reflection. And here's the kicker. Flawed work, imperfect craftsmanship, is considered an actual affront to Orelon.
So messing up your sculpture isn't just bad work, it's like sacrilege. That's immense pressure.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Elevates every creative act. They also honor the ancestral chorus spirits of past Doriconians, especially great artisans. You see life masks, signature tools display. Their clergy are tied to guilds too. The Guild of the Bloomed Veil serves Bolaria. The Stonebinders serve Orelon. They literally carve prayers into buildings. The Mericetics serve Virith, teaching truth through critical discussion. And most families have ancestral shrines. A young artisan isn't really considered an adult until they create their first piece worthy of being added to that shrine.
The rituals and festivals sound just as specific. This perfection fast to focus on craft. A gilding ceremony before big life changes. Lighting flame vine petals on the sea for the vigil of the flame.
Yeah, and on day of first light, their new year, everyone unveils one new creation. Art, poetry, a recipe, whatever. It's a celebration, but also a kind of public accounting. What did you make this year that will last?
Mm.
But then there's the quiet bloom. This is fascinating. It's a somber spring festival where they honor failures that led to growth. They actually display broken works, unfinished pieces, alongside notes about the lessons learned. Kids are taught to respect mistakes, not just successes.
Okay, that's the paradox again. Obsessed with perfection, but celebrating failure. How does that actually work? Is it genuine acceptance or just another performance? Look how wisely I learned from my errors.
It feels like a very deliberate balancing act. The quiet bloom isn't about saying failure is good. It's about acknowledging that the path to perfection involves trial and error, necessary errors. By publicly honoring the learning that comes from mistakes, they probably stop the fear of failure from completely paralyzing everyone. It allows for risk, for trying something new. Knowing even a broken work can contribute, if wisdom is extracted. It's perfection through refinement, not instantaneous perfection.
It even extends to their military. The Legati Are, Golden Legates, organized like an art guild, forts that are also aesthetic landmarks.
Precisely. Cliff-top bastions carved into the cliffs. Vineyard watchposts that look beautiful. A chain of coastal forts called the Crimson Chain. Even defense has to be elegant. Their strategy is precision before power. They hate brute force. They prefer calculated strikes, psychological warfare through spectacle. Battle is seen as a kind of pageant, designed to break enemy morale with sheer beauty and synchronized movement. They use tactics like the art of false openings or the unveiling flashy, shallow attacks to draw the enemy into a trap, followed by devastating flank attacks. And moral armor. Each soldier wears symbols of their ancestors. Why? Because cowardice isn't punished by death, it's punished by being erased from the family's ancestral altar.
Erased from the altar, that's chilling. Worse than death for them, I
For a
bet.
Doriconian, absolutely.
Yeah.
It highlights just how central honor and legacy are.
And they have military myths, too. A 6-day duel fought purely for perfect form. An army of statues that wakes up. A legion that vanished, leaving perfectly folded cloaks. Even the legends reinforce it.
It all ties together. Their naming conventions, too.
Yeah.
Male names like Aurelio, Cassian, female names like Alessia, Belladonna, unisex ones like Arden, noble houses like Emberfall, Bellinot, common surnames too, Rossi, Mancini, all part of the cultural fabric.
And those honorifics, Arcaniform, Flamebearer, Legacy Keeper, the titles themselves shout their values. So we've really unpacked Doriconia, this society that genuinely lives by excellence is obligation. From art as currency, public shaming instead of prisons, a military that performs battles, to even festivals celebrating useful mistakes. Every single piece is meticulously shaped, curated. It's a world where beauty and discipline are just completely fused. Every action, every choice is part of this journey towards endless perfection.
It really is. And what's compelling is how it challenges our own ideas, doesn't it? About ambition, success, what failure even means. They haven't just aimed for perfection. They've built their entire reality around it being a constant, beautiful, maybe burdensome duty.
So thinking about their motto, perfection is not pride, it is duty. What kind of personal masterpiece are you listening now, sculpting in your own life? What does it mean to you to strive for excellence, not just as a distant goal, but maybe in some small way as an obligation? And how do you handle the inevitable imperfections along the way? Something to think about.